Well, thank you, and thanks everybody for joining, wherever there's not feedback. My name is Justin Kurpius. I'm going to be covering enhancing application security at the edge with AWS. And I should bring him back out. He knows pretty well about CloudFront and WAF, but that's mainly what we're going to talk about. So we're going to start with a use case.
Hi, I'm
use
here.
Case.
Did you call me?
You're going to come on out. You know this well.
No. It's all you.
I'm going to start by covering a use case, and then we'll get right into the two services we're going to talk about. Then I'll cover two demos to show what we're talking about, and then I'll just do a quick summary on what we talked about. So diving into the use case, most of you may have experienced this before, but a lot of the times, whether it's our customers and the security team and the app dev team are getting a request that has to be done yesterday, or there might just be a list of things that you're trying to catch up on and you don't have enough people, enough time in the day. So we hear this a lot from our customers. So what we're going to talk about today is how these two services can help you with some of the hurdles that you may have when you're trying to move fast with putting applications in the cloud that are internet facing. So what are some of the challenges? Most of these applications have to be internet facing. And when we do that, we open up a lot of risk. We see a lot of bot traffic, DDoS traffic. And when we put this globally, it has to be responsive. It has to perform for the users that may be accessing it, whether it's in a region or across the globe. And oh, by the way, although you're going to do this fast, it must be secure. So it has to be secure, and then we're low on budget, but it has to be cost efficient as well. So again, what we're going to do, I'm going to talk. We have a lot of services here at AWS. I'm going to cover two that are really come together in a unique way to help provide our customers value. The first one I'll cover is Amazon CloudFront. And as was opened, this is our content and delivery network. So it allows us to help our customers without having to build infrastructure, just on demand decide. You can turn on our CDN, which is Amazon CloudFront, and bring your applications closer to your users for a better experience. Now, as you see on the slide, we have about 600 plus. This grows about every week of our points of presence or POPs across the globe, which again allows us to increase the experience. So our customers can turn this on demand. It's pay as you go. But the other really interesting thing is in these points of presence or POPs, we also have our security services. So we have WAF in these points of presence, and we also have Shield Advanced. We're going to be covering the integration of WAF today. So with our CDN, you're bringing that content closer to your users. You're helping on cost because you can cache it out there. And with the CDN, it helps with DDoS protection because it helps you cache and put your content across the globe. So it's harder for one DDoS attack to take one edge location offline, because then you can just move it to the next one, along with Shield Advanced and our DDoS protection as well. So that's Amazon CloudFront. So that's going to be one of the services that we're going to show in the demo. The other service is our AWS WAF. And so on this slide, what we're showing here is WAF integrates with many of our edge services. But what we're going to talk about today is the integration with Amazon CloudFront. So a little bit on our WAF, really all we're doing is once we set up that CDN to help bring your application and your content closer to the customers, we just go ahead and allow you to turn on a filter, which is the AWS WAF, on that CDN. So now you can bring it close to the customer and have it secure. So as that filter, which is AWS WAF, what does that bring? It does a lot of things. So you can create custom rules, whether it's a rate-based rule, a geolocation rule, allow list, block list, all those things. And we also have our managed rules. So seamless integration, you can choose what rules you want to turn on, depending on what your environment is. And we also have our partner rules that can be turned on as well in a managed state. So, and you can see some of the scenarios on the slide. So with API Gateway, we have a lot of customers turning on WAF at the API Gateway to protect their APIs. AppSync is a newer service. Also, there's a scenario where you can do a hybrid cloud, which is if your origin or your content is somewhere else, you can use Direct Connect and then have that come through WAF and CloudFront as well. Okay, so those are the two services we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of fast track into the demo to show how kind of more of a practical, easy way to just turn these on for a baseline security. So we're going to show this in two ways. We're going to show it from building a baseline policy in WAF, and I say that's the security persona, because a lot of the security professionals will build policy in WAF and then deploy that out to whether it's CloudFront, whether it's the ALB, or whatever. So I'm going to show that, and then I'm also going to show building security policy within CloudFront, and that is our new one-click deployment, which is fairly easy, and you'll see that. So the reason I'm showing both scenarios is, and hopefully you can see, I don't know, the words are kind of small in here, but the reason I'm showing both scenarios is in both scenarios, we are going to apply 3 of our baseline AWS managed rules. So I'll just talk through them real quick. So the one at the top here is our Amazon IP reputation list. And we get a lot of questions from our customers, a lot of excitement from our customers, because we take this from Amazon.com. So we're taking a lot of intelligence of what Amazon.com sees every day, and we bottle all that up, all those bad IPs, and we put it in a managed rule that we manage daily up to just about every minute of every day. So we provide that as a managed rule. So all you would have to do is turn that on, and then you can add that to your web ACL policy. So that's the Amazon IP reputation list managed by us. Our core rule set, which we're also going to turn on, is baseline policy. This speaks to the OWASP top 10 and a lot of the common exploits. There's a lot of intelligence packed into this AMR, or AWS managed rule. And then the last one that we're going to deploy is known bad inputs. So what we're looking for here are some of those inputs that are trying to exploit some of the new vulnerabilities that could be in your application that you have to deploy and make open to the internet. So these are 3 rules managed by us, and in both scenarios, we're just going to activate these rules as a baseline policy, put it in count mode, and then deploy it. So I'll start with deploying those 3 rules and doing it within AWS WAF. So this, I'm gonna get the demo rolling, and I'm gonna talk through the demo. So we're gonna start the demo. So we're in the console, and I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna choose WAF and Shield, because we're gonna start building this policy in WAF. So I select WAF and Shield, and as I discussed, Shield Advanced is our DDoS premium service. So when you go to WAF and Shield, you'll see Shield on the left-hand side down here. There's some custom stuff you can do to look into Shield. You also see Firewall Manager that helps manage these policies globally if you need. But what we're going to do is we're going to build a web ACL in WAF. So I click on Build Web ACL. Now there are 5 rather simple, I guess it could get complex, but for doing this, simple things that we're going to do to build this policy. First thing, we're going to name the policy. So in this case, I'm going to name the policy WAF CloudFront policy, so that when I name this, we can see that everywhere. And if someone in your organization is building a CloudFront distribution, they'll see that and they can choose that policy from the security team. The other thing that we'll do, the unique thing is if you want to deploy this policy to CloudFront distributions that are already built, you can do that right here. So when you do the drop down, you'll see all your CloudFront distributions. Now there are some other common things, default settings that are in here, so we're going to skip through that. Now on the second piece, we're going to add the policy. So the first thing you can see here is you can add your custom policies as I was talking about, but these are the managed rules. So again, baseline security, we're going to add managed rules. You can see, as I discussed, we have partner managed rules. So as some of the partners that are here out on this floor, you can choose their managed rules in this web ACL. In this use case, we're gonna use AWS managed rules. So we have our bot control at the top. We've done a lot with our bot control over the last few years. But in this case, those 3 rules that I talked about in the beginning, that's what we're turning on. So I just turned on Amazon IP reputation list. We're turning on the core rule set, and we're turning on known bad inputs. Now you can hit edit and dive into the sub rules within the rule, depending on if you want to change the policy for the sub rules. The next piece is you can customize the core rule groups. We'll leave this to default. You can change your behavior to allow, block. Maybe you want to do CAPTCHA. Maybe you want to do a rate-based rule, depending. Then this step is you can change the rule priority. So there's a lot of things we can do here. We have a lot of customers that do allow and block lists at the top, and then we have recommendations of what you can do to better optimize your rule set. We were doing the metrics, and then this final piece, we're just looking at summarizing everything, the policy that we just built in the web ACL. So we just created that web ACL, so now it's building, and now that web ACL is shown in our console. So the first thing I did is I clicked on there, and I want to hit on this real quick. Creating this web ACL and turning this on, it gives you amazing visibility. So this is newer to, we launched this recently, of this out-of-box experience for visibility. So you're going to see a lot of the happenings of rule matches, and then you can go to this bot control tab, and you can get a good feel for what kind of traffic you have on your network that's coming from bots. And this view is free, although if you go to activate our bot control, there is an additional cost. But we have a lot of customers that use this to get a feel for the percentage of traffic that's coming from bots. And when they see that, you can really make a decision if you want to decrease the traffic that you don't want going to your applications or endpoints. Okay, so that was really quick, setting up a policy in WAF. We just picked 3 managed rules, and we created that web ACL. And we named it the AWS CloudFront. So now I'm going to show the second demo, which is we're going to do the same exact thing that we just did. We're going to apply the 3 managed rules. We're going to do this from CloudFront. And so this is for those customers that may have a team that is just building CloudFront distributions. Rather than have to go build it in AWS WAF, in that console, you can do it right from CloudFront. So I'm going to do a similar demo, and so I'm starting here. Rather than going to WAF and Shield, I'm going to start by going to CloudFront. So you can go to CloudFront by searching, or if it's in your recents, you can just click it there. So I click on CloudFront, and then the same thing with all of our services. You're going to have some kind of different things you can do on the side from a customization perspective, or you can choose existing distributions, which we're not going to do, because we're going to create a new distribution for the application or content that we need to show across the globe. So when we do that, there are going to be, again, common default settings. We're going to first choose what origin we need to put behind this distribution. So in this case, the demo environment, we had an ALB with the content behind that. Now everything else is mostly common settings. You can choose your HTTP methods. There's a lot of things in here. In this demo environment, the only thing I do is I change the cache setting I disable the cache setting just because this is a demo. But as we scroll down, we're going to see some other things that you can do, a lot of common stuff. But right here is where you're going to see, it's going to ask, do you want to enable security protections as you build this CloudFront distribution? So you do have to click yes or no. If you click no, you just bypass it. But we're going to build one through this, so we're going to click yes. Now, if you look below, the first thing it says is, do you want to put this in monitor mode? We absolutely recommend putting security policy in monitor mode to get a feel for what this does in your environment. Or you can choose an existing WAF configuration. Going back to the first demo I did, that policy that we built would be in here, so that if the security team wants to build a policy for the app dev team or whomever and put that policy in there, they would see it there and they could select that. Now in this scenario, we're not going to select that because we're going to build this from CloudFront. So all this is saying right here is the 3 rules that I introed and the 3 rules we just built in WAF, we're going to apply those same rules. So it's saying these are the rules we're going to apply. There's a little bit of detail on those rules. A newer features we added is adding SQL protection and rate limiting. So if you decide as you're building your CloudFront distribution, you have some SQL databases behind whatever application you're setting up, you can choose the SQL protection, which is a managed rule that we have. And then you can also, from building a distribution, you can select a rate limiting rule. And so when you select a rate limiting rule, you're going to see you can change how many requests per IP address per 5-minute period, and you can modify that. And it gives you a little detail on what that means. So we're not going to do any of that, but we are going to put it in count mode. And then the last thing here is if you know how many requests you're going to be getting to that CloudFront distribution, you can fill that in there and see the projected cost of that. So that's all I had to do. Most of it is default settings. We turned the security on in count mode. We created that distribution. So now that distribution is created, the 3 managed rules were applied to that distribution. And now within CloudFront, we have a security tab that gives us great visibility. And what I tell customers is, at a minimum, if you wanted to get a feel for what kind of traffic is going to the application behind this CloudFront distribution, you can you can turn on one managed rule, put it in count mode, and then you can get a great view of visibility into what's the bot traffic look like that's going to whatever we're putting online. What we hear from customers on average, 47 to 51% of all traffic is coming from bots. Retail and e-commerce could be near 80, 90%. So if we look at this and say there's a good high percentage there, well, maybe we can turn on some managed rules that with a low false positive that can maybe take that down 20 or 30%. But you get all the visibility within CloudFront from that tab at no additional cost. So, and what you're seeing here is some of the other CloudFront distributions, and then that's created. So, in summary, the reason I showed the 2 approaches is I just wanted to show that we have a lot of people that are, when they need to work fast, move fast, and they have to build that CloudFront distribution, you can just add the baseline security with those 3 managed rules that we manage and add that through CloudFront. However, and I've seen this a lot, if the security team wants to have control of that policy and really kind of add some additional things beyond the baseline managed rules that we talked about, you can build that within WAF fairly easy, give it a name, and then tell the app dev team or whomever, if you're building this, you're building a CloudFront distribution, you choose this rule, and you can name the rule so that they know what to choose, and then rather than building that new baseline rule, they can just choose that. So showing that you can use 2 models depending on your persona, security, or you can build it in CloudFront. CloudFront, 3 managed rules, and put them in count mode in the beginning, and it's fairly simple to deploy in your distribution. So with that, that summarizes building the WAF rules, both in WAF and CloudFront, within the CloudFront distribution. So I want to thank you for your time.